All right, so I'm here with Emily Alvarado, the director over there at the Office of Housing for the City of Seattle. How are you today?
I am good. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so big news that came out of the City of Seattle. You guys had a presser the other day. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so as part of the city's COVID response, the Office of Housing is really proud to be making a significant investment in permanent supportive housing. And that really is the proven solution to homelessness, particularly chronic homelessness. And what we were able to announce yesterday was an investment in nearly 600 apartments that will be service enriched, supporting individuals who experience homelessness. And our hope is that those homes are online by December of next year so that we can move people off of the streets and into safe housing.
Now that's quick. People who follow construction here in Seattle, I mean, it moves quick these days, kind of quick anyway, but that's really fast, isn't it?
Yeah, the point of this, it's a pilot, and our goal is to do a few things. One, it's to scale permanent supportive housing, but it's to do it while we're getting some cost efficiencies, per unit cost efficiencies, and part of that is by bringing the units online faster. So we have some innovations as part of this pilot. We're using some new building technologies. We are partnering with experienced builders and community-based organizations. We have a lot of ingenuity going on by our housing partners, and we are providing as much technical assistance as we can to make sure that we can move these homes through the permitting process and have people move into them.
Right. And now during the mayor at the press conference, a few times she alluded to the disproportionate amount of people of color, specifically Black people and the Native population. Is there going to be any kind of specific effort in regards to channeling this housing to these populations that are unhoused or homeless?
Yeah, great question. So a few ways that we want to achieve those racial equity outcomes. First of all, is we know that there are some providers who have expertise in serving specific communities. We are pleased to have funded Chief Seattle Club as an example, who are going to build that project so it's designed to welcome and serve urban Native populations. We also know that we can achieve racial equity by how people are referred into the housing that we fund. There is a federal obligation to use the coordinated entry system. We also know that there have been some instances where that system is not creating the equity outcomes that we want. So we'll take a balanced approach, ensuring that service providers can have referrals to meet those goals as well. The city believes firmly in affirmatively furthering fair housing, and that means that we want to have housing opportunities across the city. We take the long view on looking at geography, and so while this year, 5 of the 6 developments are in North Seattle, when you look over the course of several years, we want to see housing coming up in lots of neighborhoods. And we have units coming online, for example, this year that are permanent supportive housing and that are in Southeast Seattle, for example, with Hobson Place. Also, permanent supportive housing isn't the only thing that we invest in. While this announcement is really about scaling up our homeless response as part of COVID, we're working on a number of other strategies, including some of our broader anti-displacement work and our permanently affordable homeownership work. And we have a lot of focus there in investing in communities that are experiencing displacement, including historic communities of color. And I'd be happy to talk more about that work that we have underway.
One, if you can tell us what that property there in the Central District is all about. And then 2, maybe you can tell us about that organization that's leading that effort there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we made 6 funding awards, and you saw 5 of them were awarded, and 1 was called a conditional funding award. And that's because that project, which is a partnership with Lehigh, the Low Income Housing Institute, and Good Shepherd, the church in the central area, that project is unable to move at the same speed as the others because it still needs a zoning change in order to have the project developed. And because with this pilot in particular, we're seeking to bring units online as quickly as possible. We wanted to make it clear that that's going to operate slightly differently because it still needs zoning. So it's a conditional funding award pending that zoning change. That's a partnership, and that Lehigh has developed with the church. We have been hearing a lot from Black churches in the central area who have a strong interest in creating affordable housing using their own land. This is one example of that, and we look forward to the partnership of working together to help community achieve those outcomes.
Right now, in this time of COVID, we talk about the city talked about big budget shortfalls, depending to talk to $200 million, $300 million. Maybe you can just quickly explain to the viewing public where you guys found $60 million to be able to fund this project.
Yeah, so we are very fortunate because of community to have the Seattle Housing Levy. And the $60 million are coming from our Seattle Housing Levy. We're taking 2 years of our rental capital resources from the levy to be able to invest. And that has been a source that's the backbone of our investments in housing for many years. And it's a protected source, and that's why we're able to do the kind of flexible actions like we did with this pilot. I want the public to know that we know that permanent supportive housing is the solution to homelessness, and we're using the housing levy resources that we have on hand to bring homes online as quickly as possible to help move people off of the streets. And again, as mentioned with the housing levy, we thank the community for their consistent support and their ingenuity to help us be able to make true on this promise.
All right, Emily Alvarado, Director, Office of Housing. Thank you so much for joining us on the morning.
Thank you very much, Omari. I appreciate it.